Hi everyone, today we are going to go over Algebra 1A, Lesson 25. The objective for this lesson is so you will be able to graph the solution to a system of linear inequalities by graphing two inequalities and identifying the area of overlap. So let's go over some key terms. We have linear inequality. You've had this key term before. An inequality that has the same form as an equation of a line but with an inequality symbol rather than an equal sign. Slope-intercept form. For all straight non-vertical lines, an equation of the line may be written in the form of y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b represents the y value of the y-intercept for that line. Linear inequalities versus linear equations. So graphing linear inequalities is very similar to graphing linear equations with two major differences. The first one is shading. There is shading involved in inequalities to represent all possible answers. Second one is line can either be represented by solid lines or dotted lines. For example, inequalities that have less than or greater than symbol will be represented by dotted lines, whereas inequalities that have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to will be represented by solid lines. You'll see more in the next few slides so you have a better understanding of it. So how do we graph linear inequalities? So here's an example. Some questions you want to ask yourselves before you can graph. First question, will we need to use a dotted or a solid line to graph this inequality? We need to look at the symbol. If the inequality symbol is less than or greater than, the line will be dotted. If the inequality symbol is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, the line will be solid. Looking at our example, we have a solid line. Second question, will we need to shade above or below the line? If y is less than or equal to, we shade below the line. If y is greater than or equal to, we will shade above the line. In our example, y is less than or equal to, we shade below the line. So basically, the graph of the inequality y is less than or equal to negative 4x plus 7 has a solid borderline and is shaded below the line. So here's a quick graph. Right, we have a solid line and we graph or we shade below the line. So that is below the line. So the yellow area is the shaded region. That is where all the solutions will be located. Alright, system of linear inequalities. The solution to a system of inequalities is often an infinite set of points that can be represented by shading. So basically the solutions are where the shadings overlap. So in my example, the solutions is where the green region is at. So one will be the blue, one will be the yellow. Those are only the solutions to one of the inequalities. The green is where the two overlap, and that is where the solution for the system of linear inequalities will be at. Alright, no solution in system of linear inequalities. It is very possible for us to have no solution. How is it possible, you ask? So, we have parallel lines that are shaded in opposite directions. That's when you have no solution. And remember, parallel lines must have the same slopes and different y-intercept. So here's an example. Right? Remember, as we mentioned earlier, the solutions are where the shadings overlap. In this case, we have the yellow region and then the blue region, but none of those overlap. Alright, so because there's no green region, we do not have a system of, or a solution to the system of linear inequalities. Alright, if we were to write these inequalities out, we would have this one would be y, is less than or equal to, and it looks like we have a slope of 3 over 2 x minus 2. So that would be the inequality for that line. This one right here would be y is greater than or equal to, because it is shaded above the line. Same thing, slope is going to be up 3, right 2, which is 3/2 x, and the y-intercept for this will be 1. So if you notice, the y-intercepts are different, but the slopes are the same, and it is shaded in the opposite direction. Because of that, the system of linear inequalities has no solution. Alright, graphing system of inequalities. So now we actually get to graph them. Let's go ahead and graph the red one first, just because the red one is already in slope-intercept form. So in previous lessons, you remember the best way to graph equations or inequality is to put it in slope-intercept form. So let's graph the red one. So first we need to decide, is it going to be a dotted line or a solid line? Well, it is a less than symbol, so we are going to have a dotted line. Next, we determine the shading. Is y less than or equal to, or is it greater than or equal to? In this one, it is less than. So what we're going to do is we are going to shade below the line. So the yellow region is the solutions to that inequality. Now we need to graph the blue inequality. So blue inequality is not yet in slope-intercept form. We are going to go ahead and put it in slope-intercept form. By subtracting x to both sides, we get negative 2y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 1. Divide negative 2 to every single term. And remember, when we divide or multiply by a negative number, we need to switch the inequality sign. So our line is going to be y is less than or equal to x over 2 minus 1/2. That means the y-intercept is going to be negative 1/2, and your slope is going to be 1 over 2. So that is the line of the graph. Now we need to determine, are we shading above or below? So if you notice, it is a less than or equal to symbol. That means we are going to shade below the line, and the green region is where the two intersect. And that should be your solutions. Alright, let's try another one. This time we want to graph the blue line first, because the blue line is already in slope-intercept form. Again, determine dotted or solid. It is going to be a solid. And now we determine, is it shading above or below? It is a greater than or equal to symbol. That means we are going to shade above the line. Next, we have negative 4y is greater than or equal to negative 8x plus 16. It is almost in slope-intercept form, but not completely. We need to get rid of that negative 4. So we need to use opposite operation and divide everything by negative 4. And remember, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must switch the inequality sign. So y is less than or equal to 2x minus 4. Let's plot that. It is a solid line, and because it is less than or equal to, we are going to shade below the line. Now that we shade that, the region that overlap right here, that is where the solutions will be at. Alright, here's another one. Both of these happen to be in slope-intercept form already, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and graph that one, the red one. We have 1/2 x plus 1. It is a solid line. Now we need to determine below or above. Again, y is less than or equal to, we will shade below. Next inequality is y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 4. That is again solid, and this time it is greater than, so we are going to shade above. So where they intersect is the green region. That is the solutions. Alright, this time we're given a graph, but we need to write the system. So we're just doing the opposite of what we did earlier. Earlier we graphed with the given inequalities. This time we have a graph and we need to write the inequalities. So we're going to focus on the purple lines first for the next few slides. Right? These are the 4 options you have for the purple line. Now we need to determine which one of the 4 is correct. So let's look. We have a solid line. So automatically, the inequalities that have a less than or greater than symbols will disappear. Those are not the correct options. Now we have 2 options left. And now we need to focus on the shading region. So here, with the purple line, the shaded region is the blue sections, or green because of the overlap, but that right there is a greater than symbol because we shaded above the line. So because of that, the less than or equal to symbol disappears. So the correct inequality for the purple line and the shaded region is y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 1. Now we focus on the green line. So the green line has dotted versus solid. So that means the greater than or equal to and less than or equal to symbols will disappear. So we are left with these 2 inequalities. And the green line is represented by the yellow shaded region, or the solutions is represented by the yellow shaded region. And as you can tell, it is shaded below the line. If it is shaded below the line, then we have a y is less than answer. So the answer for that is y is less than negative 1/2 x plus 2. So how would we write that together? That's all it is. Don't forget you need to use a low brace to represent the system of inequalities. Alright, let's try another one. Again, let's focus on the purple line first. We have these 4 options. We need to focus. Is it going to be a solid or a dotted? Or a solid or a dotted? The line is dotted, so that means we can erase options 1 and 3 because those are for solid lines only. And now look at the yellow region. Is it below or above? It is below the line, so that means it is going to be y is less than negative x minus 1. Do the same thing for the green. Again, we have a solid line, a dotted line. So we're going to erase options 1 and 3 again. This time, we are also shading below the line. So we're going to erase the top option and we are left with the bottom. So these 2 are the inequalities for the graph. Alright, I have one example for you. I want you to try this one out on your own. Pause the video and then resume the video when you are ready. Alright, let's try this out. See if you wrote your own inequalities. If not, that's okay. We'll go over it. So here are the 4 options for the purple line. We have a dotted line, so we erase options 1 and 3. This time, it is also represented by the yellow portion. That is shaded above the line. That means we erase the bottom option and we are left with y is greater than negative 2x minus 5. Next one. Those are our 4 options. we have a solid line this time. That means options 2 and 4 will disappear. This time we are shading above the line, or it is shaded above the line. That means it is greater than or equal to. So those two are our inequalities for this graph. And that is all that we have for today. If you have any questions on anything in this lesson, feel free to reach out to me.